Hi, cyberspace. So I thought today would be a really good time to talk about my particular very favorite childhood obsession, Harry Potter, because it's sort of kind of almost coming to an end. Um, I think I've mentioned previously, like 5 million times, that I am probably the biggest Harry Potter fan you could ever meet. Like, take the biggest Harry Potter fan you know and the second biggest Harry Potter fan you know, double that, double them each, multiply them together and square it, and only then will you reach the level of obsessiveness that me, my sister, and our two best friends sort of occupy. Like, that is the amount of obsessiveness that we have. We actually recorded our own version of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban audiobook type thing, in which my one friend read the narration, and me, my sister, and our other friend divided up all the characters in the book that had a speaking line and read it out loud to a tape recorder over the course of 3 summers. And it's hysterical. Like, it was from when we were younger, so it's pretty funny. But I mean, that should give you some indication of just how obsessed we are. My two friends actually, they got into Harry Potter so early that the bookstore had to special order a copy of Sorcerer's Stone for them because they hadn't even heard of it. They were like, what book are you looking for? And they're like, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. And they're like, we don't have that. We're gonna have to order that in for you. Like, that's how early my friends got obsessed with it. And I was kind of the same. I'm not quite that early. My second grade teacher actually read us the first book for story time in class. She would read us like a chapter a day. And then I started reading the second book once we finished the first book in school. And I was like, oh no, this is too scary. And I stopped because I was like a stupid little second grader. I had no kind of immunity to scary things, and what I thought was scary was probably like the least scary thing ever. But I stopped at chapter 7, and then the third book came out, and the cover intrigued me so much because I was like, what the hell is that? And obviously, you know, like everybody knows who has the American versions of the cover, it's Buckbeak, the hippogriff. But before you've read the book, you have no clue what a hippogriff is. And I really wanted to know, but I didn't want to read the book because I was still scared. So I made my big sister read it. So she read the first one and the second one, and then she got to the third one and she started reading it, and she was like, oh my god, Megan, it's really scary, but it's so good, so you have to read it. And I was like, all right, cool. And she goes, you're gonna be scared, you're gonna have nightmares. I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. So I reread the first one, I made it through the second one, and I read the third one, and I was like, that's it. I'm obsessed from here on out. Best series ever. I'm gonna finish it. It's gonna be amazing. That was kind of like the beginning of the obsession, was the third book. And the third book is still my favorite book, and I hate the movie. They killed the movie, but the book is so good. And like when the seventh book, and you know, I went through and I waited for all of them, and I waited for all the movies, and like I held the seventh book in my hand the first time. I went to the midnight release for the seventh book, and I just held it in my hands and I started crying because I was like, after I read this, it's over. There is no more new Harry Potter after this book is over. And I mean, that was dumb because at the time there were 3 more movies to come out. So obviously there were still, you know, new Harry Potter, quote unquote, but at the same time I was like, after I finish reading this, there is no more. And I just started crying. And like, once I finished reading the book, obviously I was sobbing like a 2-year-old for the characters who died. I mean, 145 characters die over the course of the Harry Potter books. That's insane. But like, I was sobbing so hard, and then so it was partially for all the characters who died, and then at the same time it was partially because like this was the end. It was kind of almost like the end of my childhood almost, because I grew up with Harry. I mean, like, I was 10 when he was 10, and I was, you know, 15 when he was 15, and I was having the same problems as him, and then I was 17 when he was 17, and then it ended, and I was like, but I grew up with him. It was my literature. It was my story for my generation. And I look at all these little kids who are reading it now, and they're like 10, and they're like, oh, I have to wait for this. There was this little girl who I saw, I swear to God, I saw her in the bookstore. She finished the seventh one. She was like, oh, I have to wait for the seventh movie. Why do I have to wait? I'm like the biggest Harry Potter fan ever. Why do I have to wait for the movie? And I was like, oh, little girl, nuh-uh. I have been a bigger Harry Potter fan for longer than you have been alive. And like, I'm so happy that these books can still touch these little kids and make them, you know, as obsessed as I was, but at the same time, I don't think they can ever be as obsessed as I was because I had to wait. I had to live through that 2 year period between books 4 and 5. Oh, that nearly killed me. And like, I grew up with Harry, and he's my hero from my generation. And like, part of me is really, really happy that he can still touch these little kids, but part of me knows that they don't get the same experience out of it as I will. And that's why part of me is like so freaking excited for Friday because I get to see the movie. It's coming. I'm so excited. Ah, but at the same time part of me just knows that I'm going to be sitting in the theater and just crying because it's almost over. And I know that like Friday is going to be really bittersweet. Like it's going to be absolutely amazing and absolutely the saddest thing ever, but I think that when July comes around, that's going to be like the worst because it's going to be so amazing and so brilliant and so epic and so wonderful, and at the same time I'm just gonna be bawling my eyes out. So I'm gonna keep being a nerd and obsessing crazily over Harry Potter and waiting for Friday, which I can't wait for. I'm so excited. And I will keep being nerdy, and I will think I'm going to make a movie review without hopefully any spoilers the day after I see it. So I will definitely see you this weekend. All right. I'm gonna go obsess now. Bye.